Hello, and welcome to the Prosys Computing presentation of how to generate your profit and loss and balance sheet reports within Sage 200. We are looking today at Sage 200 version 2015, but the functionality is the same in all versions of Sage 200. Now, before you start creating your profit and loss and balance sheet reports within Sage, the first thing we recommend you do is just grab a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet and write down the titles, the rows and the subtotals that you're looking to generate using the Sage 200 reporting. Each row on that profit and loss or balance sheet will be categorized using the Sage 200 report category code. A report category code is assigned to each nominal code within your nominal ledger chart of accounts. If you look at my screen, you'll see that I have a column here that shows the report category code that we have assigned to each of our nominal codes. The category codes can be split amongst any number of nominal accounts. So for example, I have my cost of sales category code, number 41, but that's split with all my 41-100 nominal codes and also my 41-300 nominal codes. The report category code is set up within the nominal ledger utilities and then ledger setup. We have an option in there that's called report categories. The report category code is a 4-character code. You can add a description and you also determine whether it's a balance sheet or a profit and loss report category code. Once it's assigned to a nominal code, that denotes whether that nominal code is a profit and loss or balance sheet code. It cannot be changed on the account itself directly. Once you've set up your report category codes, you can then assign those codes to your nominals using a number of options. First of all, again within our nominal ledger utilities and ledger setup, there's an option there, amend report and consolidation settings. Now if I go into that, it's a really nice quick entry screen, so we can select all of our nominal codes from the first to the last or any range in between, and then we can just determine what category code each of those nominal codes should be assigned to. So a nice quick entry screen to update our category codes. Another option is that we can actually assign this on an account-by-account basis by simply going into Amend Account in the nominal ledger. When you amend a nominal code, you'll see here that there's an option for the report category where you can select from the drop-down list all the category codes that have been created and assign it to that particular nominal code. Now, once you've assigned your nominal codes to all of the assigned report categories, we're now in a position to actually start creating our financial statements. The financial statements are created within the nominal ledger utilities and ledger setup, and there's an option in there called financial statement layouts. We already have a couple of profit and loss reports available to us, and you can create any number of profit and loss reports. So with this morning, we're going to be looking at the summarized profit and loss report. I'm going to create a new report and I'm going to give it a title. So I'm going to call this Prosys Computing Summary Profit and Loss. Once we've actually assigned it a name, we can then select Edit from the menu at the bottom of the screen, which will take us into the report layout details. Now, each line is given a type. There are 4 types available to us. We can create a text line, we can create a subtotal line, we can select a single account group, or we can select multiple account groups, and we'll be looking at each of those individually throughout the course of the presentation. My first line is just going to be a text line. So all I can do in this instance is assign it a title. So I'm going to put in here income. We have a heading style, and we actually have 9 different heading styles available to us. That denotes if that text is going to be underlined, bold, or indented, and there are 9 different options. I'm just going to save this and close this screen because I've already created a profit and loss report that's just called headings. If we have a little look at that, I have given 9 different heading lines, all with the 9 different heading styles. If we just have a little look at the profit and loss report for that particular layout, you'll see that it gives us an example of each of the heading styles. So you can have a hard copy available to you of what the heading styles are and what is suitable for the line that you're currently trying to create. Let's go back to our layouts. So back to our ledger setup and financial statement layouts. Back to our summary profit and loss, and we're going to edit that screen. So our first line, as we say, is just a title that's going to say income. Our next line, we're actually going to include multiple account groups. Now, multiple account groups allow us to select more than one report category code to be summarised on that particular line on the profit and loss. So for my first line, I want trading income, which is going to show UK sales and export sales. So I'm just going to include those two category codes on that particular line. As soon as I tab off that box, it's asking me for a title. So I'm going to call this Sales Income. There's no heading style associated with multiple account groups. It's not a subtotal, so there's no subtotal level required. It's asking me if this is normally a debit or a credit entry, and that will denote whether there's going to be brackets shown around those figures if it doesn't agree to that particular option. All the reports give us the option to print them out in two columns, and it's asking us which column we'd like this figure to be shown, the left or the right. I'm going to show this on the left-hand side of our report and move on to the next line. After my sales income, I would like another line that says other income. So again, I'm going to select multiple account groups, and this time I'm going to select my non-trading income and my sale of assets and other income. I'm just going to give this the title Other Income. And again, it's normally a credit, and I want that printed on the left-hand side of my report. The next part that I want for my gross profit figure is going to be a single account group. I'm just going to have one line that shows my cost of sales. Now, because I've selected a single account group, I can't multi-select. I can only select one of my report categories. So I'm selecting report category 41. This time it's normally a debit. And again, I want it printed on the left-hand side of my report. The next line that I want to do is going to be my gross profit. So what I want is a subtotal to add up those previous figures. As it's a subtotal, there's no category to select. I can give it a title. And now it's asking me for a subtotal level. This is the first subtotal in my report, so I'm going to apply a subtotal level number 1 in this instance. We'd hope it's normally a credit, but this time I want it to show on the right-hand side of my report. So I'll have all my figures showing on the left-hand side and all my subtotals on the right-hand side of my report. The last column is asking us if this is a base unit. There are a number of reports available that will show us any subtotal as a percentage within that report, and it's asking us for each of our subtotals if this would be the base unit. In this example, I'm going to just say no and move on to my next line. The next line I want, again, is going to be text, and the title I'm going to give that is going to be Costs. The heading style I will leave as number 1 again, and because it's a text line, there's no information required in this instance. I'm now going to include my costs to incorporate in this section of my report. So again, I'm going to select multiple account groups, and I'm going to select the costs that I want to include. So I want to include all of my direct costs, so I'm selecting direct labour and direct selling. And also that's it. And I'm going to say OK to that. I'm then going to have it give it a title of direct costs. I'll move across the page as we have done previously. I'm going to add another multiple account group line. This time it's going to be for my overhead costs, and I have quite a few categories that I want to include in this particular section. So I'm just going to scroll down and select those options. So I'm going to include 52, 53 and 54. I'm going to include 71, 72, 73, 81, 82 and 83, 89 and 91. I'm going to call these overhead costs. There's no limit to the number of categories you can include on any line on your profit and loss or balance sheet. Finally, I want to add my financial costs. So again, I'm going to add my multiple account groups, and I'm going to select the relevant categories for my financial costs. My financial costs are all going to be maintained within the 60s, so 61, 63, 64 and 68. The title has now been entered. It's normally a debit, and I'm going to show that on the left-hand side of my report. I'm going to include another subtotal, but this subtotal I only want to include my costs. I don't want to include my gross profit at this point. I just wanted to give it a title that says total costs. And the subtotal level, I'm going to leave at subtotal level number 1. And what that means is that Sage is going to read back through all my subtotals until it comes to another one, sees that that is the same level, and it will stop at that point. It won't include that previous subtotal in this particular subtotal level. Again, it's normally a debit, and I'm going to show it this time on the right-hand side of my report and continue to the next line. My next line, again, is going to be a subtotal, and this time I want it to read net profit. And because I now want it to include all of the accounts that I've included on this particular report, I'm going to increase my subtotal level to the next level up, which is level 2. You can go up to a maximum of 9 different subtotal levels, so there's plenty of room there for different structures. This should hopefully normally be a credit, and again I'm going to show that onto the right-hand side of my report and continue on to the next line. Now I've finished creating this particular summarised profit and loss report, so I'm going to save this report, close down my entry screen and close down that option. All the financial statements are run within the nominal ledger, reports and financial statements. There are a number of reports available to us, so we have profit and loss detailed, month to date, year to date, split by cost centre, split by budgets and so forth. Let's have a little look at our profit and loss detailed. As I said, we can have any number of profit and loss layouts, so we're going to have a little look at our summary profit and loss report. If I say OK to that, this will now display on the screen the information that we've just created. So we can see our income, sales income, there's no other income there for this year, our cost of sales and hence our gross profit. We then have direct costs, overhead costs, financials, total costs subtotal and our net profit subtotal. So that's all looking good so far. Let's go back to our financial statement layouts. There are a number of options. If I just edit that particular summarised profit and loss, there are a number of options available to us. So I've just been adding lines as I've been creating them at the end of my report. There are a number of options at the bottom here. So for example, we can copy lines. We can insert lines above the line that we're currently selected. We can delete lines. We can move lines to the top, we can move them to the end, and we can move them up and down within the layout itself. If we select the print button from the screen here, we get a print of the actual layout that we've just created. But it doesn't give us any figures, it's just showing us the actual sort of summary and the description of what we've done within that particular option. Let's save that layout and close our screen. And again, we have some more options on the financial statement layout's main screen available to us. You have the option to preview. Oops, you do have to select something first. Let's preview our summarised report. And we can see our income, sales income, all the rows that we've just created, the groups that we've included, and whether they're debits or credits. You can validate, and this is really important. The validate will confirm that you've used all of your category codes just once within the profit and loss or balance sheet layout. What this is telling me that I have a category code number 94, which I've used for suspense, and I haven't included that at all in my profit and loss layout. I'm quite happy with that because I always want my suspense to be nothing, but it's worth validating just in case. It could also be the case that I've included a category code more than once, and that would make my profit and loss inaccurate because the same figures would be reported twice within that report. We can generate any number of new layouts, we can delete layouts, we can edit them and amend the lines. We can copy layouts so that if there's something very similar, we don't have to start from scratch, we can just copy and edit the new layout. If you have multiple companies, then it's really useful that what you can do is export a layout and then import it into the new company. So again, you're not having to create new reports from scratch. When it comes to the balance sheet layouts, it's exactly the same format as creating the profit and loss layout. So as you can see here, we can include text, single groups, subtotals, and multiple account groups. There is just one additional option available to us for the balance sheet, and that's the current period profit. And what that will do, it'll look at all profit and loss accounts in your nominal structure and put that as a subtotal within your balance sheet report. So if your balance sheet profit and loss doesn't agree to the profit and loss subtotal, then you know that on your profit and loss report, you must have included or excluded a category code by mistake. There's also a cash flow report available to us, but that's a new feature within 2015, and we'll be covering that within a separate Prosys computing presentation within the next few weeks. So that covers our introduction to the financial statement layouts. I hope you found that useful, and by all means, please have a go and create some financial layouts of your own. Thank you for your time.